Hi everyone, this is the FedEx tracking program I created using Python, Excel, PowerShell, and Power Query. And so the goal for this project was to fill out this distribution sheet I have full of FedEx tracking numbers. There's thousands of FedEx tracking numbers, and I need to fill it out with the delivery date and the received by fields. And so I pulled that information using API requests to the FedEx Tracking API, and I used a FedEx Developer Account. So if you want to go ahead and do this, then you'll have to have that set up beforehand. Um, and so the way the script works is it'll take a text file with FedEx tracking numbers. So I can copy and paste these tracking numbers into a text file. Um, and I can run the script, the Python script, and it'll make all the web API requests to the FedEx tracking API, and it'll pull the tracking information and it'll parse through the JSON outputs and grab the fields that we need. So the delivery date and the received by columns or fields, sorry, and then it'll load that into a CSV file, which will then be loaded back into this Excel sheet using Power Query. And then that'll fill out the whole sheet with some VLookup functions that I've already set up beforehand. So what I'll do is I'll empty this out first just to show you how it works. So this is the sheet in which the VLOOKUPs pull from. This is the sheet in which the tracking the CSV files outputs from the tracking script fill out, get like loaded in with Power Query. And then this is the distribution sheet with all the tracking numbers. So you can see there's thousands of tracking numbers as I go down the list. And so all that information needs to be filled out. And you can see these VLOOKUPs have already been set up. So there's no information, so there's nothing to pull, and it's showing NA. But once we fill it out, it'll fill those out. And so to the first step would be to basically copy these tracking numbers, throw them into the text file right over here. So I can delete the empty column because that package hasn't been sent yet, and I don't have a tracking number for it. I can copy these ones because these ones should already be delivered. I know they're delivered because I've already done this, and so I'll save that in the Excel in the text file. Um, then I have this PowerShell script which runs the Python script. So the Python script is here. It pulls the authorization token from FedEx using the authorization API, and then have my client secret and client ID, which you need which you get with the FedEx Developer Account, and once you set up the project for the tracking API, and I can run that token through the API requests to get the tracking information. So, and then that tracking information is outputted into a CSV file, which is loaded back into the Excel file for the distribution sheet. So if I go ahead and just go back to that folder where I have everything set up, I can run this program, run with PowerShell, and it'll list all the tracking numbers that are being tracked in the terminal. So now it's gone. Once it closes out, it's outputted into this tracking results.csv file. And I can go back into this distribution sheet, refresh this. So this is set up with a Power Query connection, and which is nice. It just loads it into the Excel sheet. Then I can go ahead and just copy and paste this into this tab over here, this tracking results, and this is just to have all of the tracking numbers because this tracking CSV will delete the old ones. So once I track a new batch of shipments, this old batch will be gone, and I can throw that into this tracking results Excel to keep it here so that the VLOOKUP functions work. You can see the VLOOKUP functions were already set up, so all the tracking results they fill out automatically. We don't have a tracking number here, so there is no tracking information here. You can see over here it's been filled out. I know that these packages over here haven't shipped. Well, they shipped yesterday, but there will be no tracking information on them. So I can go ahead and copy and paste those to show you how that works, and essentially paste these in. I'll go back to here and copy these ones too, because why not? Um, and I can save the tracking numbers text file. I can run the program again with PowerShell, and that'll run the Python script. It'll list all the tracking numbers that have been tracked. Um, and I've done this in the past using Excel VBA, and that was a lot more complicated because the way it was, or it wasn't more complicated, but it was more computationally intensive because it was basically opening an Internet Explorer page and loading the actual FedEx tracking web page and grabbing the information using web parsing, which is it worked, but it was heavy on the computing, and it took a lot longer. So this is nice and fast. Each request takes like a second max, I think. Um, when I go back into this tracking page that's already been outputted into the CSV, I can refresh the CSV over here, and that new batch of packages have been listed out, which is great. And then I can go ahead and copy and paste that. So none of these have been delivered yet, which is why we don't have a receipt by or a date for the delivery. So I'm not going to actually copy and paste that, but if I did, it would fill. And if it had the fields, it would fill it out here because the VLookups have already been set up. Now going into how it all works, I have the Python script to basically go ahead and pull the bearer authorization token that will be loaded into the requests for the tracking, and then so the bearer authorization token will be loaded in. So I have my client secret and client ID in the payload of that request, and the client secret is in a .env file so that you guys can't see it. But essentially, you'll need a FedEx Developer Account to be able to access that. And once you set up a project with the Track API, then you'll get those client ID and client secrets. Once that's done, basically, I can go into the and make my tracking requests, and so that's the next part of this Python script over here. And what it does is it cycles through the text file right over here. It reads each line until there's no more lines to read, and it basically loads the bearer token that we received into the headers of that web request, and in the payload it puts in the tracking number that from that text file, and then it grabs the response from the API and it parses the JSON to pull all the information we need. So the tracking number, the delivery status, and then the received by name and so on. And that's it. It writes it out to a CSV file, closes everything, and then it's ready to go into the Excel file. And that's basically how it all works. I'm going to have this all on my GitHub. So if anyone wants to give it a shot, they can try it. You'll need the FedEx Developer Account to get the client ID and client secret fields filled out. Yeah, it's really useful. It helps me track thousands of packages in a matter of minutes, which is neat. Yeah, thanks for listening.